Good morning, comrade. You're listening to the HIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is your weekly Good Morning Comrade. Jeff and Robert here in the brand new year. This is our first episode of 2025. Let's go.
Brother, why is our theme song so loud?
I don't know.
Is that just me or like, I don't know. It just feels like we're trying to wake the dead with that thing.
Well, people love it. I've not heard any complaints from it. So
I hope not. I think I paid a whole like $10 for that.
The one complainer, Robert.
Well, I'm the one who picked it out. I'm just saying, but I don't control the volume levels.
Yeah. Good Lord. Anyway, what's up, brother? How you doing?
I don't know, dude. Let's see. My fridge broke, so I'm buying a new fridge.
Oh.
But my house is like fucked, so I'm trying to like, I live in a shotgun house, so I have to make it like. I have to make it cool to like have a fridge in here, if that makes any sense. Like you have to play Jenga to like move shit around.
Well, and your fridge in your kitchen is like all the way in the back, so you have to go through to get there, and you have crap everywhere, so it's just sort of like difficult.
Crap indeed. I was joking. I was joking with Erin, and I told her my wife. I know. I told her it's like because she's seeing her mother right now, and I'm like when you leave, it's like permission. It's like the scene in whatchamacallit. Pause for a second. Just pause the recording. Can you do that?
I can, but it's not funny when I do that. Hold on.
Dang, sorry.
Just go ahead. I'll clip it.
All right, because I am. No, I'm working on.
Also live on Twitch. So.
Oh, we're live on Twitch. I'm trying to.
YouTube, so
my bad. I'm trying to work on something at the same time, like schoolwork stuff, and I just needed a minute to get it cracking. But yeah, we'll talk about it in just a sec. I'm sorry, Twitch people. My goodness, didn't I just do that? I know. Why is this not saving? This is terrible. No changes detected.
What are you doing, bro?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought this would just be a click, but it's like I have to get this done. I have like a side hustle where it's like personal assistant stuff. Ooh. So it's like I have a time limit to get this done, and I don't know what's wrong with it. Oh my god,
like Kimberly stuff.
I'm so sorry, dude. Let me see.
Anyway, but yeah, man.
But we're gonna get into it.
Like chilling out here, hanging out, and the Saints blew the like.
What? I saw a little bit of it at the gym. I didn't care.
I got creamed by one of the worst.
The Ravens, yeah.
Oh no, the Raiders.
The Raidens.
The Raidens, yes.
They should be the Raidens. That'd be so awesome.
Even better, the Ridens.
The Ridens.
Oh yeah, man. They're like Metal Gear Solid 2.
Oh, they're not good enough to to rock with that. Why is this?
Yeah. So I restarted just today.
Oh, I know why.
I just started a replay through of Mass Effect. I know you don't like that game.
No, I was one is clunky and silly.
In a good way. I think in a good way.
And then 2 is amazing. 2 I would hold up as one of the best video games I've ever played. Okay, yeah. I'm done with that thing, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
We can start recording. I just noticed I was hemming and hawing because I couldn't find the stupid button to click.
All right.
My bad.
Yeah.
I just made $163.
Hell yeah.
In an hour and a half of work clicking on some buttons.
All right.
Okay. So we were talking about the what were we talking about? We're talking about WWE. Because I had an emergency here at home. That's why
we hadn't gotten to that yet.
It's weird. Oh, we didn't talk about that. We weren't talking about video games. What were we talking about?
We were getting wound up. I don't remember, man. Like you just kind of like derailed the whole thing. But I can restart us.
Yeah, restart us. I can't remember what we're talking about. I'm so sorry, dude.
3, 2, 1. Good morning, comrade. You're listening to WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is your weekly Good Morning Comrade. Jeff and Robert here on the show. What's going on? This is the first show of 2025. Happy New Year, mother.
I guess. I mean, it's doomer time. I don't know what's so happy about it, but yeah, we're all trying to do our best here. I'm continuously working on trying to, get stuff done so I can leave the country if I have to. We just bought a fridge. That was it. No, my house is like
you bought a fridge.
Super messy and crazy for a fridge. So I made like a TikTok.
House, by the way.
Yeah. So my we got a fridge. I'm cleaning the house so it can get delivered because it's like a weird fit. You have to do all kind of weird angles and stuff. Because it's a shotgun, it's just like straight
it's
back.
A tough road to hoe.
I'm tired of for people who don't live in New Orleans, like describing what a shotgun is. It's tiring.
It's I'm like not one continuous room that just goes straight back.
I'm not your Google, so look it up. I don't know why you need me to talk about everything all the time. I don't know what you're listening for if you don't, expecting me to talk at you.
Figure it out, losers.
But no, so I'm doing that. I made a TikTok because she's at her
Erin.
My wife is at her parents. Mm-hmm. And the scene in The Professional, that very that movie's questionable. Now there's parts of that movie I can't really watch without pretty much fast forwarding through because it's near like it skirts up on the line of pedophilia, and I'm not here for that. But still, it's still a good action flick. But that scene where Leon is like telling Matilda he's got to go. I mean, she's got to go so he, and to meet him because he knows he's gonna die. She knows he's gonna die, and he just like becomes a monster when he like pushes her down the laundry chute, and he just kind of because that was like his last link to like humanity. So now you go crazy. That's how I feel when my wife leaves. So I can it gives me the ability to just become the monster I need to become to take care of household work. Mm-hmm. So that rules. And we were off air. All our good conversations are off air. If you really want the good content from Good Morning Comrade, you have to
come to our house.
Know us personally. Yeah. But we were just
talking on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. We can talk about all that stuff.
Can we talk about Twitter? Because I just kind of caught up. Speaking of my wife, she let me know what's going on with Twitter, and they're calling it the MAGA Civil War. I'm not really I'm not really too much into it. I'm not getting glee out of it because I think it's all just like it's garbage. Like I think it's like liberal foolishness to be like, this means something. It's good entertainment.
There's drama there, but it's also like this has happened before, right? So here's the drama. Here's the tea, if you will. There is some drama around what an H-1B visa is.
I do, because everybody thinks I'm Indian. So
can you describe what an H-1B visa is?
So it is a visa that allows you to come work in a field that supposedly there aren't enough American workers to fill.
Highly skilled field.
Highly skilled
how it's described in the law.
And it's these things on their face are good. Like, so my wife and I are talking about immigrating to Ireland, and she's a social worker. That is like a highly skilled critical needs job.
Yeah.
That she would fill automatically and get her on the fast track for immigration. It makes complete sense. But when you're talking about we have computer coders, we have computer engineers in this country. The problem is that because of capitalism, obviously, these companies do not want to pay them. And they found this nice little slavery with extra steps, this nice little indentured servitude workaround that we will hire people from the poorest parts of the world. We will underpay them because we know that we can get away with that because what are they going to do? The whole reason they went into computer science is to try to elevate the material condition, so they want to leave where they're coming from, and 2 apples is still better than 1 apple, so they're going to take the low pay. And then if they don't like that and they want to get uppity, well, we'll just fire you, and as a term of the visa, when we fire you, you immediately get deported. Do not collect $200, do not pass go. So that's what that visa is. It is just it's legalized slavery. It's indentured servitude. I expect nothing less from the dying American empire.
Sure. However, again, it's something that is used for immigrants to come to this country for better or for worse. And then at the same time, it's a way that the capitalist system basically divides American workers from international workers and creates two classes of workers. We talk about this all the time, right? And so Silicon Valley, and specifically like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, the two most annoying, loudest people in the government right now, or at least that are coming up to go into the government when Trump takes office, are talking about the H2. So Vivek is Indian, and they're both. I mean, I think Vivek was born in America, but I'm not sure. But Elon Musk is definitely an immigrant. I don't know if he came in an H-2A visa or not. I'm not exactly sure, but he definitely benefits from people who use that status to come to this country because
when you say benefits, can we just be clear about that and just
he benefits from it because it drives down the cost of labor.
I'm saying, can we just say exploit? Like I benefit from drinking, 8 glasses of water a day. Like I don't exploit the water. Like this is clean. This is as exploitative as it possibly could get.
Sure, he exploits tons of tech workers with Twitter, with Tesla, with SpaceX through this program. Now, so this is essentially a pro-immigration policy. Like you said, it is to a certain extent slavery with extra steps.
It's one of those
workers whose status is dependent on their work situation. So if they get fired, they lose their immigration status. It's a bring people into this country, but also compete with American workers sort of deal. So like the point of it is to drive the cost of labor down, put workers in a more precarious position, right? And
I mean, I think it's a little more than that. It's just to expand on what you just said. I think it's one of those classic American policies that would be good if our country wasn't run by sociopaths.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, on its face, like this is a very good thing. We can't find an American worker to take this position. We actually have looked. We've done our due diligence, and we get to poach the best talent from around the world, and that's what makes the American empire, I don't want to say good, that's what makes us successful. No. But the problem is when you tie someone's work status to their immigration status, and then when you also you underpay that person, like all wage work is exploitative, and you're being paid less than your proper value because that's how the company makes profit. But this is just blatant, and they don't give it, and even worse, under conditions they know no natural born American will put up with.
Mm-hmm. And also at the same time, it does separate American born workers from people who have this status because it essentially drives the cost of those jobs down, the wages that they would make from those jobs down because they're being outsourced, right? So it's to a certain extent, it is causing problems for American workers because it essentially makes it harder for American workers to make money. So it's a double problem, right? It's a double problem from it puts these immigrants who come to America in a precarious position because they're exploited, and it also helps to exploit American-born workers as well, who do have status, but that makes it more difficult for them to find a job that pays more. So it's a good way to pit these kinds of workers against one each other. And then, so what is happening with the MAGA side of this is there are good reasons to be sort of critical of the H-2A visa situation, and what the MAGA side of this is doing is not doing that. They're just being racist because they don't want immigrants coming into this country.
That's what they voted for, right? Yeah. But they don't understand that was never in the cards.
That was never in the cards because Trump is a billionaire. He definitely understands the benefits that this program has for exploiting workers that this provides. Elon Musk definitely understands that, considering that he is in tech, and that's sort of like where this sort of gets its a lot of the fire under it comes from, or where it's very heavily exploited. But again, the sort of like Laura Loomers of the world, and the sort of like the sort of like Steve Bannons of the world don't care about that. They are doing their white nationalism regardless. And that's sort of like what the disconnect is. Trump came out today and basically said that he's supportive of expanding H-2B visas. So like the discussion is probably going to end because Daddy spoke up. But like, you know, and the you were right at the beginning of it all by saying that like it's probably not going to go anywhere because essentially like there's not really that much of a disconnect between I mean, if there is something that's like a disconnect from the sort of like MAGA base of the Republicans and this sort of like establishment Republicans or whatever, like that's Trump was supposed to be the opposite of that, but he is not going to. He wasn't like that in his first term, and he's not going to be like that in the second term. It's still going to be horrible. It's still going to be awful. And I'm talking to you, Cenk Uygur. The MAGA freaks are not going to come to our side. Sorry, not buying it.
I mean, the big issue I have right now is what I talked about right after the election, or even right before, and I've been telling people this, is that everything that we've talked about is like it's coming to pass. Like all the puzzle pieces are falling into place. It's like, so when people talked about they're going to exploit all, not exploit, we're going to kick out all the illegal immigrants. Okay. All right. Well, my first reaction was, and everybody said, yeah, all the MAGA guys were like, yeah, we can't have all these people, blah, blah, blah. My first reaction is he can't do that. That cannot happen. And I don't really take like a nah pleasure, like nah that you can't do it. It's actually more terrifying that he can't do it. And because my argument is this, like, of course, I don't want anybody deported. That's stupid. Sure. But here's what's going to happen. It's already starting. So if they won't budge on these tech worker visas, do you think they're going to try to kick out 4% of the American workforce, which are illegal immigrants that do blue collar labor? Do you what's going to happen? Like, do you think they're going to try to kick out, hundreds of thousands of people who, make sure that our food is in the grocery store at at least right now reasonable price? We can be mad about it, but most of us can't afford to eat. What happens when those people are gone? Like, because Americans aren't going to fill those jobs. We're not going to kill ourselves to do that. It's just not. That's not a world that we know anything about. So when that doesn't happen, when none of the illegals, I'm saying this with air quotes because nobody is illegal, but when they don't get kicked out, MAGA, the voters they're gonna look for blood, literal blood, and they're gonna come for us, and there's gonna be violent upheaval. And you're like, that's crazy. What are you talking about? We're 4 years away from Charlottesville. How do you think those same people are gonna act? We're 4 years away from Charlottesville, and we're like 2 years away from Jan 6. How do you think those people are going to act when it's not small business tyrants who can take the weekend off anymore? Yeah, it's people who can't afford food. This is why I'm saying this is terminal. And I'm saying this, and this tariff thing. I've been down my autistic rabbit hole for the last 2 weekends. So I've actually been like selling stuff online, just like, sourcing stuff from China and selling it online. And I've gone into the world of Chinese manufacturing, brother. It's a behemoth that you can't even fathom. I don't even talk about, I'm not even talking about like, oh, of course it's so cheap because like it's slave labor, it's sweatshop. It's not sweatshop, dog. Like those, now obviously all those conditions exist all around the world and they're not hard to find, but they're not in China because they've progressed past that. Like their jobs are as bad as our jobs, and it's like they're to the part where it's like there's a couple reasons why. Well, every now and then where the free market about this, where the free market will work itself out, but for not the reasons these libertarians talk about. The thing about these Chinese companies, these manufacturing companies, is that they don't want to run sweatshops anymore because the little bit of profit that they're getting from running sweatshops is not a good look on one Chinese state-run economy, and it's honestly it's not a good look for them with how many cell phone cameras and how many social media and stuff is out there, and how many other manufacturers there are to choose from. So now their game is they make the factories are actually like livable places where like you don't want to jump into a suicide net at Foxconn, because what they're doing is they're inviting Americans in there. They're saying, look, come see our factory and we'll cut you a deal on 10,000 widgets. Come, and if you buy enough of this crap, we'll fly you to China and then we'll try to sell you some more. Like, so it's like they're advertising themselves as these factories now. And that's a thing that's like, I don't remember ever seeing. It's like, these are always like hidden things, but they're not anymore. And brother, like, just to get back, we don't make any, like, the tariffs. If tariffs actually happen, which I don't see how, I really, no tariffs are coming. They can't, because it's the immediate end of the American way of life. It's over, because China's just they're not going to go, oh no, what are we going to do? They're going to take the hit. They're going to take the hit and be like, we already outwork you.
Yeah.
Like, we already have all the stuff comes from here. We'll just sell it to somebody else, and we'll wait. We'll let you starve.
Yeah. Boycott us, bet. Like, go ahead.
Yeah. And I get this same argument, and they just don't understand, the guy at work was be like, well, tariffs because I'm like, you don't understand. Even if that is, if I agree with all your framing, I said, brother, it's a threat with nothing behind it. It is a pure, you and I play poker. It is a pure bluff with no outs. It is a naked bluff on the river.
Bluff, yeah.
Because there's nothing. We make nothing, and they make everything, and they do it incredibly efficient. It's disgusting. And the quality, like, you can get like bottom of the barrel fast fashion, like from Shein or whatever, but like, you don't have to do that. Like, if you want like decent quality goods from China from a decent price that's not made in a literal sweatshop, you can get them. Like, and it's going to cost you a couple more pennies, but that's kind of the way. Like, I know personally, when I go to the store and I'm going to buy eggs, it costs me $1 more to buy the one that say free range on them. I'm going to buy that one so I sleep a little bit better. And I feel like a lot of consumers, it's the same way. If you market that way. But yeah, it's like my point is this whole enterprise. that is my mantra until about to be 2025. It's 2025 now to 2026. Brother, this feels terminal. I just don't see it. And everybody's like, oh, we got to stay and we got to fight and we got to do that. And I'm just like, I don't see it. There's just so many ways that this is just going to go. It's already going wrong. And he hasn't even sat down in the chair yet.
Yeah. It's like not even day one.
It's bad, bro. But so, like, okay, here's my question. Like, let's have a little fun now. So can you explain, because I'm going to have a real question after,
sure,
of why all this was like, why are we listening to hours of live Twitter calls with like maybe sock accounts of Elon Musk? Like, what is this going on? Like, why is there a world where Charlie Kirk, Laura Loomer, Nick Fuentes, and totally not Elon Musk are on the same like Zoom call? What is that? I don't understand it.
Because dorks find one another. I don't know. I mean, like, literally,
it's just like an open Discord or an open like kind of like TikTok. I'm not on X, so you gotta let me know what's going on.
I'm not seeing. I got Elon muted, so like I don't even really know. But like, it is one of those sorts of things where these freaks are just. I mean, the freaks just find one another. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, then, okay. So with that being said, my real question is, if that's Elon Musk, whoever that Dick Dastardly or whatever he was calling himself, if that's Elon Musk, how did he think that anybody ever would think it wasn't Elon Musk? Because that's either the greatest Elon Musk impersonator or it's Elon Musk.
No, it's because he's an idiot. That's why.
Yeah, he's pretty dumb.
I mean, like, that's the whole thing is that like people like him do think they can just like, they can just like fool everybody by just being like, oh no, that's totally not me. That's Guy Incognito. You know what I mean?
And it's very like I listened to all those finally because my wife kept sending them to me, just like laughing, and I'm like, what is this? And it's very The Emperor Has No Clothes, because it's like, come on, y'all. If y'all are on this call, you got to know that's Elon Musk. Why is nobody saying that's Elon Musk? Because they don't want to get banned.
The wrestling wrestling has a term. Old school wrestling has a term called kayfabe that they just like use to kind of keep that stuff up. Is all. Like literally, like just like maintaining the imposed reality that it isn't, just to kind of keep up appearances. Like that's what it is. Straight up, it's kayfabe.
It's just it was so weird. And somebody said it perfectly. They said this is proof. I can't remember who said it, but said this is proof that billionaires don't need to exist, because if this man has this much time to like do this and cheat in Diablo 4 and Path of Exile, which he got
nonstop, by the way,
like
he post all day, every day, just on Twitter.
Yeah, like, I mean, if he wasn't doing this, just like the no-lifing of Path of Exile 2 and Diablo 4 that he purportedly does, so because that's a game like you can literally just play till you die. Like people have died like at gaming cafes for not sleeping for 3 days straight playing like Diablo 2. So if he's no-lifing that game, then what? Billionaires don't need to exist because he doesn't have a job.
I think that's like one of those things, kind of like when they'll be like, oh, Kim Jong-un played golf one day and he shot like a 30 because he had 6 hole-in-ones or something like that. That's sort of like what it's supposed to make it feel like.
No, I get that, but so Diablo 4, everybody was saying, this is deep into the weeds here. Diablo 4, people were saying that, and Blizzard never talked about it, the makers of the game, that like everybody's saying like that's fake, like whatever. Yeah. But in Path of Exile 2, they're saying he just straight cheated. And Grinding Gear Games, the maker of that game, was just like he could buy another account if he wants to play. Yeah, we know who he is.
It turns out every game is pay to win if you're rich enough.
I guess so. Let's get a script kiddie to write you some weird little. But I don't know why you'd want to cheat in a game like this.
Because you're a dork. That's like the only reason. And like you're trying to like keep up appearances of that, like you're a part of this culture or whatever. I don't know.
I remember when AOC's claim to fame was that she was a much higher rank in League of Legends than Elon Musk.
I mean, like, I think it's an indictment upon her that she plays League, but like, whatever.
Yeah, that was years ago. Everybody played League, man.
I know, but like, it's still fun to make fun of League.
Got to come off of that. Depression.
My brother plays League, and I got to make fun of him for it too.
It's a damn depression simulator. Yeah. I've never played anything that just makes you feel like you're locked inside of a cage with the dumbest people on earth for 30 minutes at a time.
Yeah, but you know, it's just one of those things, and I don't know, like the whole deal for me when it comes to like all of this stuff, when it comes to just like Elon generally, it's just like this is just a distraction for like freaks, you know.
That's what I was thinking.
And so like, you know, like I'm sorry to say it like this, and I do get some entertainment from it, of course, but like, you know, libs take this stuff very seriously.
Yeah, it feels very Russiagate. It feels like on this episode of the Trump White House, like, oh, they're gonna fall apart, and it's like, shut up. Like we've all done this, yeah.
So, but regardless, I'm just sort of like watching it happen. If they're gonna fight, I'm at least gonna like enjoy it with some popcorn and like have a little bit of fun with it.
Oh sure, yeah. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. I'm enjoying the show, and like that's all that really matters to me. But you know, if people feel differently or if people feel strongly about it, you know, go.
I don't think it's funny, but
yeah,
I don't think
that's my deal. It's a joke. Regardless, we did want to talk about something else.
Please.
You'll listen to HIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is Good Morning Comrade. So as of recording a little bit early because of the New Year and all the stuff coming up. Jimmy Carter died today.
Yeah.
And so like we were sort of like talking prior to jumping on air, and we might sort of like get into a back and forth about it, but like, is this a pack watch situation? Is this
we're not going to get into a back and forth because
No.
I have the opinion. I don't know anything about Jimmy Carter pre-presidency. And my thing is, I think he was the only decent, he might be in the running for the only decent president the country's ever had.
Sure.
And I know we were talking about, you said, he's the start of neoliberalism, but yeah, I mean, I get it. Like he's from Georgia and he, ran as a Democrat. So it's like, you're not going to get like the second coming of Karl Marx there. So
no, of course not.
It is what it is. You know what you're signing up for.
I guess my point is that like with Carter, you have he was the first Democrat that was elected since Johnson. Johnson was responsible for the Great Society programs, for the Civil Rights Acts and the Voting Rights Acts and all these other things. Like the Democrats were, at least by the standards of, America. And this is also the party of FDR. This is sort of like the New Deal party. But then after Johnson loses, Lyndon Baines Johnson loses, you get Nixon, right? You get Nixon. Then you get Ford. You have this sort of like cooling off period, and the way that the Democrats reinvent themselves is that they decide to take a conservative turn, and that was sort of like what Carter represented. And the fact that he was one of the first Democratic presidents to sort of like really eschew labor, sort of like push them aside, and that was something that was in the works for many years. Famously, George McGovern had alienated himself from labor in his election, and he got absolutely creamed in his election against Nixon. But like the thing is that like he was the first Democrat to step in after the sort of like national embarrassment or whatever of Nixon. And Ford was sort of like viewed upon as a goofball. The Republicans were on the ropes, and the way that Carter rather stepped in was one, a continuation of the same, foreign policy, which is essentially anti-communism, that was pushed forward, that previous administrations had taken up, and then also at the same time on the domestic front, because there were, there was sort of like this conflict that was taking place. We had overthrown the government of Iran. There was a counter-revolution, and there was essentially like an embargo upon the U.S. that increased the price of oil. One of the ways that and there's much more to it than this but this is one of the sort of like the more famous things. Carter was sort of like famously tell Americans, instead of using your heater, like trying to sort of like invoke the New Deal idea of like we all kind of come together to sort of like get the war economy going.
Yeah,
he sort of did it in the sense of like we need to come together to like not spend money on oil because it's so expensive right now. And he was like wearing a sweater in the White House, and essentially that was sort of like this individualization of responsibility that sort of prevailed all the way up to the ideas of like carbon footprint and all these other sorts of things that have being big issues that sort of takes the onus off of the society and puts it on the individual.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. The only pushback I'll have to that is like,
came after he's an absolute gem, I suppose.
Yeah. The whole like putting the onus on the individual. I mean, if it's done right, even.
Well, and then the result of that, I guess, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in.
Yeah, go ahead.
The result of those kinds of policies, essentially, like putting responsibility on the individual and all this other stuff, individualism. Like, what happens after that is you're essentially getting this sort of Diet Coke conservatism, and then you have the real sort of like red meat conservatives of Reagan, who absolutely destroys Carter in 1980. And that's
no, I get that for sure.
It's a loser of political strategy.
Yeah, it just depends on the spirit of the individual, of like putting onus on the individual, because there's a way to do it to where, okay, so how the Republican Party normally does it is like, oh, it's the individual's fault with no capital and no power of why why your life is bad. And it's like, no, it objectively is not.
Right.
But if you can put, you talk about putting people on a war footing and whatnot, people need jobs. Like people need things to do and in a crisis. So if everybody this is the time where we're all gone as a nation and we're going to turn off the heat for 2 hours and that can be beneficial to some people, but it just depends on again how the spirit of the actual are you trying to give people a thing to do to calm themselves during crisis, or are you just trying to do a magic trick and stab people and tell them they're not bleeding? That's the difference, and I don't know which one. I mean, I can't tell you.
I will say this too, and then I'll also and we can maybe leave it here, but and we can also talk about some of the things that Carter.
It's a difference between. But I'm not gonna say okay, there's a difference between we're in World War II and we're gonna save bacon fat so that way we can make grease to grease the tanks or whatever. How much of that really got used in the Pacific or the European theater? Who knows? But I'm gonna guess it's not that much. I'm gonna guess that the factories were supplying oil to grease the tanks, but there is value in that. But there is no value in post 9/11 George Bush saying, "Oh, everybody go shopping." Well, that's the difference.
But I think that here's the thing. I think that telling everybody to go shopping doesn't tick people off in the same way that it tells people to be because you're telling Americans to do more excess.
Oh, of course, yeah, exactly.
And in the Carter situation, you're saying that Americans need to be more responsible and need to turtle up. Ain't nobody gonna respond to that positively. So that's bad politics. One other thing I wanted to talk about with Carter though, was that and this is something that I have picked out in my head, and maybe I want to hear what you have to say about it, because I think it's kind of interesting. Carter was sort of viewed as this and he kind of genuinely is as far as people who have been president, one of the more moral individuals or whatever, one of the better people to be president, and that's coming off of people like Carter, who not Carter, Johnson. And people like FDR, who were head crackers, they were skull crusters, they were arm twisters. They were people that would fight to get things done. And whether or not you thought this guy was an a-hole didn't really matter. There was a sort of sanctimoniousness that got sort of taken in by for the Democrats. Maybe pre-existed Carter, but he's definitely the big sort of national Democrat of we're the good guys party or whatever the hell, that they've never really shaken, even with Clinton, even with Obama definitely embodied a lot of this I'm a good guy sort of stuff. And this is one of the things that elite Democrats like to say themselves is we're the good guys or whatever, and the Republicans are the bad guys, and they feel that those convictions or these moral certitudes are good enough even in the face of defeat. I think that it really put forward a loser mentality that the Democrats have never shaken off.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's
maybe I'm being an a-hole or something like that, but I don't know. I would rather see a guy like Johnson who would not afraid to shake people down.
See, there is a world, there's a reality to where a soft-spoken Jimmy Carter is a bridge to leftist populism, and then also there's that reality exists to where Obamacare would be a bridge to Medicare for all. But the problem is that the Democratic Party doesn't operate like that. They don't operate as how they operate as any corporation, as any capitalist entity. Just instead of saying, well, how much more can we do for our constituency, it's how little can we do, and how much profit can we amass off of that little that we do. How much can we sell these people nothing and turn a profit off of that? What's our return on our investment? And that's how the Republican Party, that's how the Democratic Party rocks, is they will keep running the same play over and over and over again as long as it's working. And then they'll run it a couple more times even after it stops working, just to make sure it doesn't work anymore, instead of actually doing their jobs. So it's I don't blame
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame like a Carter for being, and like the patient zero of neoliberalism that brought us a Bill Clinton. I don't blame that, because in a sane world, we would have said, okay, Jimmy did what he had to do to win, and now we're gonna push the ball forward instead of, oh, we're gonna try to freeze time and freeze history here for all time. And that's what the Democratic Party does. It's like whatever worked for them before, well, we'll just keep running the same play.
I do want to just bring up Noam Chomsky for a second, because he gave a speech in probably like 1990 where he talked about how every president from the post-war period, if they were held to the Nuremberg standard, they would be hanged. Essentially, they would be executed by the state. Just to sort of like read, just to sort of like a preface to this. Quote, if the Nuremberg laws were applied, then every post-war president would be hanged by violation of the Nuremberg laws that being the same kind of crimes for which people were hanged in Nuremberg. And Nuremberg means Nuremberg in Tokyo. So first of all, you got to think back to what people were hanged for at Nuremberg and Tokyo, and blah, 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 blah. So this is what he had to say about Carter. Carter was the least violent of the American presidents, but he did things that I think would certainly fall under the Nuremberg provisions. As Indonesian atrocities increased to a level of really near genocide, the U.S. aid under Carter increased. It reached a peak in 1978 as atrocities peaked, so we took care of Carter even forgetting other things. So, and also, and again, one super last point to talk about, and this is also post-presidency and after you're the president, like, thanks, dude. You can't do this. He's not doing about anybody any good if you're saying this after you're president, But he definitely was one of the people, more or less, especially in recent years, who did speak at least that like recognize Palestinians as human beings, which is like unbelievably like rare for American presidents to be to say or whatever for any like high level like politician even. So I don't know. Just sort of like throwing it out there. I do think it's worth mentioning and bringing up when a U.S. president dies. I definitely am in the like Chomsky camp, at least for part of the fact that like all presidents are war criminals sort of deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely forgot about Indonesia. So I take back everything I said. I don't care how many roof shingles he put up on a Habitat for Humanity home. Like that's the red line. There's no coming back from that. I'm sorry, dude. Yeah, I totally forgot about it. We all forget about Indonesia.
Yeah.
It's just not talked about. But yeah, I totally forgot. No. Yeah, no good American presidents. See, you changed my mind. If we were out there on the Delgado College campus with my little boots, I'd be like,
baby, that's my game.
Yep, my mind has been changed.
And then finally, there was the sort of like major reorganization of the airline industry that sort of like deregulated it and put it in at least the initial stages. Again, this is the patient zero, as you put it, the origin of neoliberalism, at least at the the governance level. I mean, you probably actually, like compared to now even, and like I do think this is sort of like there would not be an EPA. They would not create an EPA in 2024 if they could,
No.
And that was something that happened under Nixon. But yeah, there was a deregulation of the airline industry. There was also right after him the sort of the Patco strike that we mentioned earlier, where Reagan, when he stepped in, brought down the hammer on organized labor, on those workers in particular, and organized labor in general, and really set the tone for the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s for what labor was going to do. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of blood on those hands that were putting up those roof shingles for Habitat Humanity.
Yeah, no, he sucks. Never mind, he sucks. I always just think about him getting screwed over by Nixon.
He definitely got screwed over by Nixon from the perspective of like
that was crazy. Nixon should have been
collaboration with.
He should have been executed for that. That's crazy.
But instead, he became president. You mean Reagan?
No, Nixon.
Mm-hmm.
Nixon did a backdoor deal with like the Iranian revolutionaries and said, and don't don't release our hostages till after the election.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not for the death penalty, but like that's you going like, nah, actually, no, he doesn't deserve to be executed. He just deserved to be put in a room and just beat like every other hour, like for the rest of his life. Like that's brother, like what? Like that's psychopathic.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are worse things than losing an election, my friend.
Yeah. So
Losing your soul.
we do have an interview that we wanted to share out with Gabriella Biro. We're going to put that at the end of this episode. So, yeah. Is there anything else that we wanted to say to the lovely people before we say goodbye, Robert?
Hope everybody has a good New Year's Eve. Stay safe. Hope you did. And don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Yeah. So thanks, everybody, for listening. This has been your weekly Good Morning Comrade, Jeff and Robert here as always. Thank you so much for listening. We love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.